From the Figure 4 Online Studios in beautiful Bothell, Washington, exclusively at WrestlingObserver.com, you're listening to the Bryan and Vinny Show with your hosts, Brian Alvarez and Big Vinny V.
Another friendly one. It's the Bryan Vinny Show, May 31, 2015, Figure4Online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. Elimination Chamber here tonight, and that's all we're doing here tonight. Get back into the swing of things with some extra shows in the next couple of weeks. A lot of things going on, though. But Elimination Chamber, plenty to talk about. If the only thing that we talked about on this show was the John Cena match with Kevin Owens, it would be a good show. Fortunately, we got to talk about the rest of the show as well, including the worst Elimination Chamber match of all time.
That's clear.
And some of you may recall that there have been Elimination Chambers featuring such men as the Great Khali. This was worse.
This was one of the worst matches I ever saw.
It was so... You know what's funny about it was so bad, and I thought I knew why it was bad, and then I realized I was wrong.
Yes.
And when I found out what they really were meaning to do, the match actually became worse in my brain.
Yeah. This was the worst chamber match ever. This is the worst match in this company in I don't know how long. It was not as bad as Survivor Jen versus Sharmell.
Nothing is.
No, ever will. This may have been worse than the Doomsday Cage match from WCW.
I think it was.
In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm pretty confident in that.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, that's obviously ancient history at this point. Like, I literally don't remember the last WWE match worse than this.
We got it. You know what? Listen, I know everybody wants to hear about Kevin Owens and John Cena. We're going to talk about that.
That's a footnote.
We're going to talk about that in a second.
I swear to God, that's not the story that came out of the show.
We got to talk about how bad this match was.
The story is an incomprehensibly bad match from what is allegedly the biggest wrestling promotion in the world.
Now, keep in mind, I am a positive man.
I'm not.
And when we were previewing this match on Wrestling Observer Live, in this show, your biggest fan called, Vinny. Vinny V's biggest fan called. He said he can't wait to meet you in Vegas and show you his scar.
Sweet.
The one in his crotch.
Right, yeah.
From when he was stabbed in the penis.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point of this is...
As it happens, yeah.
So, he was not high on this show going in, and I said, Vinny V's biggest fan, listen to me. The show's probably going to be pretty good, because this tag team match, you've got all of these great high flyers, and they're all going to be in this Elimination Chamber match together, and those matches are almost always good. That match is probably going to be good. The Intercontinental title match with all those guys is probably going to be good. The main event, I'm sure, is going to be good. And Kevin Owens and John Cena is going to be good. Now, to be fair, I was half right, because the main event was good, and the Kevin Owens-John Cena match may actually have been the best match in WWE of this year. Certainly, it is by far the most newsworthy in 2015. But my God, the tag match, which we'll get into here in a minute, was not very good. And this Intercontinental title Elimination Chamber match was so horrible. Let me cut to the chase. The men were Mark Henry, who, by the way, Mark Henry was the replacement for Rusev. A former world champion had been teased to me. And I thought, oh God, is it going to be The Miz, for example, or The Big Show? Turned out it was Mark Henry, which I'm actually not sure if that's better or worse than Miz or The Big Show, but not any of those excited me. So it was him, Sheamus, Truth, Ryback, King Barrett, and Dolph Ziggler. So it all built to a spot where Sheamus was supposed to get into the ring, and his pod wouldn't open. Now, I thought that the plexiglass door had, honest to God, legitimately gotten stuck. And the reason I thought that was because when the door didn't open and he started yelling at the referees, all of the men in the ring suddenly forgot how to wrestle. I thought, if this were a planned spot, clearly they would have an idea of what to do when the planned spot of Sheamus's door opening doesn't happen. But what happened was, when Sheamus's door didn't open, all of the men in the ring stood around like they were in their first indie match. They didn't know what to do. They stood there and they began yelling spots at each other. Then they began doing terrible cradles. Then they stood around more. Meanwhile, Sheamus is pretending like he can't get out of the cage. Finally, they just do a spot where Truth gets pinned. And in all of this, Sheamus is acting like he honest to God can't get out of this. So suddenly he crouches down and he smiles and he reveals that he had used the metal chain around his own neck to lock himself in the pod because he wanted to wait until all the men were down to get out and attack them. Now, this would have been an awesome spot if the match had not completely fallen apart when he got supposedly stuck in the cage. The match fell apart, and keep in mind, it was a bunch of geeks. I mean, this beyond the point of Sheamus, it was a bunch of geeks in the match that never win, not the least of which is King Barrett, who lost again, as well as Dolph Ziggler, who was in a big program on Monday, the best segment on the show, lost again. A bunch of geeks in this match that nobody cared about. The wrestling sucked. And at the end of the day, Ryback won. Now, when you think about Ryback, think of all the matches Ryback has had in WWE. This was Ryback's first ever singles match. His first ever singles championship, I should say. And all I could think was, can you imagine winning a championship for the first time in your career in WWE? And it's a match like this. Who the fuck could you ever show this to? Your kids? Your friends?
Oh my God.
I would show this to nobody.
This will not be on the Best of Ryback DVD.
I felt so bad for Ryback to have won his first ever singles championship in WWE in a match so bad. Yeah, this was terrible.
Okay, here's the thing. Everything you said is true. But you're neglecting that spot was 10 or 15 minutes into the match, and it was horrible already by that point. So, Dolph and King Wade started, and I swear to God, for 5 minutes, they did nothing.
They did nothing.
Nothing worth typing happened, and then Truth came out. The wrestling around a while is not very good. I described it as a SmackDown opener inside a cage.
Let me cut you off there because there's something you're forgetting about the very beginning.
All right.
So it is Barrett and Ziggler starting, and yes, they don't do anything, okay? But there is one thing that happens. And that is, Wade Barrett is going from pod to pod, making fun of all of the people in the pod. He's mocking them.
Sure.
So if this were any other form of entertainment in the world, what would be logical is the biggest, scariest guy would come out second, and he would beat the shit out of Wade Barrett for what Wade Barrett had done. Instead, after mocking everybody in all of these pods, the time limit expires, and the first man out is Truth, except he doesn't get out because Wade Barrett goes in there and he beats his ass. And for about 3 minutes, Wade Barrett, the heel, beats up Dolph Ziggler and Truth 1-on-2.
Yeah.
What?
So they're doing stuff, and Dolph gets thrown into Henry's pod, and the plexiglass pops out. Henry looks around. Everyone looks around, and Henry says, well, fuck it. I'm in the match now. And he gets in the ring, and then 10 seconds later, they do the light show, and then Ryback comes in.
Yeah.
So this appeared that they were, at this point, short on time. And had to get two guys into the cage at the same time.
Wrong.
Because apparently, I don't know, Bo Dallas went too long. We'll get to Bo. Oh, we'll get to Bo. So now we got 4 guys in there lumbering around. And Henry, as noted, it appeared his entrance was not planned or a last-minute thing because they're doing stuff, and they start to run a series of moves on Wade, I think. Yeah, it was Wade. And everyone's in a big move on Wade, and Dolph from the corner shouts, and I mean shouts at the top of his lungs, Mark, stay there!
Yeah, I heard him here in Seattle.
Yeah, not
out
on
my window.
Not on the house mic, mind you.
No.
Not on the television. His voice carried all the way here to Seattle.
Oh, yeah. This put John Cena to shame in terms of calling spots loudly.
So they all hit Wade with a bunch of moves and pin him because he's a geek. Now, this isn't even the spot where Henry's in yet. Sheamus is still in his pod. So there's Dolph, there's Mark Henry, there's Truth, and there's a fourth person. Forget, it doesn't matter.
Ryback?
Ryback, thank you. And the referee. And they all stand there looking at each other. And it appears that they were not planning on having Henry there. And now that he's in there and in the way, they don't know what to do. So Dolph starts calling spots for all 5 men and Sheamus.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking at Dolph, and Dolph is talking, and Dolph calls the ref over, and Dolph, in a chamber match, they're all standing there staring at each other. And Dolph calls the ref over, Dolph tells the ref something, the ref goes over and tells Sheamus something, and they all just keep standing there looking at each other. These men, all of them, have been wrestling professionally in the biggest company in the world for like close to a decade, at the least. In Henry's case, 2 decades. And they looked completely lost and bewildered about what to do.
It was so bad.
They looked like they'd never been in a ring before in their lives.
And then, as a fan, all I could think was, how about one of you fuckers throw Dolph into Sheamus's pod, and then he'll break the plexiglass again, like he did earlier. But no, nobody could figure out how to get Sheamus out of this cage.
And then it turned out it was all Sheamus's clever plot, but the clever plot caught everyone so off guard that they all looked like shit.
Honest to God, I don't even know what to think anymore.
I wonder, I'm thinking this off the top of my head. I wonder if Dolph told the ref, tell Sheamus to put his cross in the pod so it won't open.
No, or I wonder if Sheamus really was stuck. And so someone came up with the idea of pretend like you used your cross to lock yourself in.
Maybe.
Because the match, literally the match fell apart to such a degree that I cannot wrap my brain around the idea that this was a planned spot.
No one could think of anything like just, let's punch each other.
Yeah, nothing. They could not call a match on the fly.
No.
To save their fucking lives.
And then when they started, as you noted, let's do some roll-ups.
Dude, the YWF, there was not one match worse than anything that I saw in this Elimination Chamber here. So finally, it comes down to Ryback and Sheamus. And they just do moves forever, and nobody cares. And finally, Ryback...
That is the other thing. It was a terrible match. And then once it was well established, this is a terrible match, there is no saving it, then it went on way too long.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Daniel Bryan cut that promo saying the IC belt should not be in a therapist's office. Yes, it should!
You should be in a fucking therapist's office right now.
I know. Whoever is there a therapist in range of this belt who can rescue it from this match?
It's bad.
Go get it and take it back to the office and set it on a chair. This was shameful.
Wow.
I hope these men are ashamed.
Wow. It was very, very bad. Ryback won. They gave him the belt. Daniel Bryan cut a promo, and then Ryback cut a really nice promo saying that he was very appreciative of him or something like that. These two men used to be traveling partners.
That will never not be amazing.
Daniel Bryan and the Ryback were traveling partners. And Bryan got to present him with the belt, and everybody was happy, and there you go. Yeah, that sucked. All right, let's talk about Kevin Owens. We're just going to jump around here. Kevin Owens.
Why not? We don't do that often.
Kevin Owens and John Cena. This match was wondrous.
It was a thing of beauty.
I had predicted that... Actually, I didn't even know what to predict. In fact, there was a fella here today, and he wanted to know who I thought was going to win. And I stammered and had no idea, because John Cena is John Cena. And he had been laid out on 2 consecutive television shows by Kevin Owens. And in the world of WWE, if you lay out John Cena on 2 consecutive television shows, you're doing the job. So, on top of that, Kevin Owens is he's the NXT champion. It's Kevin Owens. He really should not lose this match, but attempting to rationalize a scenario where Kevin Owens would pin John Cena in the middle of the ring, there was a part of my brain that said, that's what they should do. But of course, they're not going to really do that. And so I was thinking of all of these different ideas. What could they do with this match? How could they not hurt Kevin Owens? But Kevin Owens certainly should not be beaten here. He's got to somehow maybe win or maybe lose. Maybe they could do the powerbomb into the apron. They got to do something so you don't hurt Kevin Owens. But, John Cena can't possibly beat him. These are all the things going through my mind. So they come out third, I believe. And I thought, all right, if they're coming out third, there must be some sort of screw job. There's got to be some sort of screwy finish. because there's no other reason to bring them out third on the show here. At the very least, they should be semi-main or right before the buffer match or the main event, but they should not be third on this card. That's just weird. Well, Kevin Owens pinned John Cena clean in the middle with pop-up powerbomb after, how long did they go, 20 minutes?
Probably about that.
20 minutes. They kicked out of every move. They had a great match. Just a great match. And a lot of it was Kevin Owens beating the shit out of John Cena.
A good majority.
He beat the shit out of him for 15 minutes. They had 5 minutes of near falls where they exchanged moves back and forth. And then Kevin Owens pinned him clean in the middle with a pop-up powerbomb. Mm-hmm. I'd never seen anything like it. I could not believe my eyes. I screamed, "Holy shit!"
It was amazing. And a lot of amazing things about this, actually. We talk all the time about how there's basically 2 matches in WWE. There's Brock Lesnar's matches, and then every other match is essentially the same. Kevin Owens does not do that. Yeah, they have not broken him yet. They might still. Maybe he'll come out and do every Raw match ever, but at least for one night here, he did a Kevin Owens match, and they went back and forth briefly for a minute or two, and then Owens was just winning on him. He didn't hit a big, he never hit a big move. He didn't counter anything. He just won. He just took over. And he wore him down for a while. It was never boring. Everything looked good. Crowd was into everything. The crowd, by the way, from the very beginning knew this was going to be something special one way or the other. They knew this was not just a filler match on a surprise pay-per-view or whatever you call this show now. So they go and, Owens beat him up for at least 5 minutes, maybe closer to 10. And then towards the end, it was a little more typical WWE. It was big move, kick out, and that's not a bad thing. They did kick out of everything. Owens hit a avalanche fisherman buster for a near fall. Owens actually picked him up for a package pile driver, but then turned it into something more like a power bomb. That got a near fall. Crowd started to chant USA, which was awesome. I also like where Owens is winning on him. They were trading strikes, and Owens just drops him with a super kick. And he starts showboating, and Cena catches him with the STF, which goes back to the whole veteran advice Cena wanted to give him, which is the whole point of this feud. And Cena starts running wild. Suddenly, Kevin Owens is taking insane bumps onto the back of his head and jackknifing for lariats, and then takes another one where he turns himself inside out, and then suddenly he ducks one, hits a pop-up powerbomb, and pins him.
Yeah.
And it's not the first time Cena's had a clean pin. We were talking about this. You probably, this Daniel Bryan did it. Shawn Michaels did it. A few guys in the past decade have pinned John Cena clean.
There's also Brock Lesnar, who gave him a much worse beating and pinned him much cleaner at SummerSlam.
He's also on the list.
Yes.
So, but the key is, none of those guys are having their first match, let alone their first pay-per-view match. So this is a home run. Just a great spectacle. And then afterwards, Cena disappears.
Yeah, he's gone.
He didn't pout in the corner. He didn't drag out the ramp. He just vanished. And Owens cuts a promo saying he had picked a fight with he started a fight with John Cena. He had also finished it. Then he had some veteran advice for Cena. It was time to go because your time is up, my time is now, and the champ is here. This was an A+ promo, and honestly, that was probably at least as important as having a great match.
They did so many great things. Owens did a springboard half-turn moonsault, which was astonishing.
Yes.
Which was hilarious because early in the match, the announcers talked about, this man does not do flips off the top rope.
Yeah.
Then he did. He mocked the 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena put him in the STF. He kicked out of the... Actually, he did his own AA, of all things.
Yeah.
And John Cena kicked out. And did Owens kick out of the AA? I don't think he did he?
Yeah, he did.
He did? Okay. That's right. He did.
They kicked out of everything.
The reason I bring it up is because I mentioned this on Observer Live, but they confirmed it on the show. These guys are doing a rematch at Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Cena's just going to beat him. I mean, they may do a screw job finish to lead to a third match. I mean, this is a program now, so it's not like a one-off because Kevin Owens is now up on the main roster. And I hope this is not like Rusev, where John Cena now beats him for 3 straight shows. Anything is possible. But I honestly, God, don't know if it matters. I think they made Kevin Owens here in one fucking night.
It was not quite Lesnar beating Undertaker, but there were a number of fans there who were not expecting this finish and were not happy to see it.
That's right. There were little
Stunned
Cena
grown men,
maniacs.
weeping Cena fans.
Oh, man, it was great. But hey, listen, if you have the right guy who rarely loses clean, and you have the right guy who's on his way up, and they have the right match, and the guy on his way up pins the other guy, it is still possible in 2015 to create a new superstar in one night. I don't even remember. Honestly, when was the last time this happened? Because it didn't happen with Brock.
No.
I don't even think it happened with Daniel Bryan, because Daniel Bryan was pretty much already a star by the time that he pinned John Cena. I mean, when's the last time a dude just did this?
I'm trying to think. Well, never on their first show. I mean, think about how silly it is, how silly it seems now, but remember how big they pushed Fandango's first match because he pinned Jericho. This is a billion times bigger than that. I mean, yeah, nothing is coming to mind. This is the most elevating win they've done in, well, probably at least as long as they've had a match worse than that Chamber match.
That's right. This was just fantastic. May win match of the year. Who knows? I doubt it.
I would still go with the Royal Rumble 3-way.
No, this was better than that. The Royal Rumble 3 was a better match, like in the ring. Mm-hmm. But I think that when people do their match of the year voting, things that go into it are, was it a historically significant match?
I see.
And that match was not historically significant compared to this one.
Well, we'll see, but you're probably right.
Now, granted, I'm sure there are so many awesome matches all over the world that I don't think it's actually going to win, but it should at least be in the top 10. Because this was astonishing.
Yeah, this is quite great.
I've been told that you need to check your Twitter DMs, Vinny.
Right. Should I do so right now?
That's right.
All right.
Yes, check it out.
All right.
I don't know why I'm needing to tell you to do that, but anyway, let's start at the beginning.
We'll start at the beginning now. It was a tag team chamber match. Cut to the chase, by and large, it was okay, but some of the booking in this was just wacky. All the teams went into pods. It started with the Ascension and the Lucha Dragons, and the bell rang, and your wife told me I had to move my car. I moved my car, and by the time I got back, Kalisto was on top of a pod, and his leg was stuck in the cage, and a new team was about to enter.
Okay.
So I hope I didn't miss much.
I can explain a little bit of this.
All right.
Story of this match is Kalisto had a lot of bright ideas, and they all sucked. They may have been good on paper, but in execution, they were terrible. And one of them was the Ascension, of all people, were in there with the Lucha Dragons. So the Lucha Dragons and the Ascension are in the cage together, and the Ascension gets laid out, and the Lucha Dragons go up on top of the pods. And Sin Cara does a big senton off the pod. They're both laying there like they're both going to get hit, the Ascension. So Sin Cara does this big senton, and Kalisto doesn't do anything. And so everyone's looking at him, and he's just sitting there. And it appears like his foot got caught in the pod. But then he gets his foot out of the pod. And then he starts getting the people to chant Lucha. And then he starts to stand up, and he's getting ready to dive. And keep in mind, this poor Ascension fucker has been down now for about 8 minutes, just laying there like a numbskull. And after all this time, Kalisto's about to dive. And the New Day yanks his leg through the mesh, and he crotches himself.
Aha.
And so at the end of the day, nothing happened.
Well, actually it did lead into something cool. Because the next team in was Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Cesaro in this match was Superman.
He always is.
Especially here. So Tyson runs up. Kalisto's still crossed on top of the pod. And Tyson goes after him, but Kalisto kind of fights him off. And then Cesaro, standing on the mat, jumps up to the top rope, lands there with both feet, and hits a pop-up uppercut to Kalisto, who is still trapped in the cage. That was fucking awesome. Beat up the Ascension for a while. It was a rough night for the announcers, and Jerry Lawler actually called Cole JR.
A rough night is not doing this justice.
Yeah.
This was the worst night of announcing I can even remember. They were, and somebody had tweeted me and they said, is it me or are the announcers really bad tonight? And I almost tweeted back, no, they're always this bad. But I decided I would wait and actually pay more attention because normally I try and zone them out because they're so horrible. Mm-hmm. And I wish I would have just, taken my own advice and zoned them out because they were terrible tonight. Abso-fucking-lutely terrible.
So the Ascension's new gimmick is that they're stealing classic teams' moves. They use a Dominator by Ron Simmons in the APA. Victor is dropping fists exactly like Road Warrior Hawk used to do. So the Matadors are then the fourth team in, and they had started the match with Torito on top of their pod. And as soon as their pod opened, he jumped off into top rope Rana, and the Matadors get in there and do stuff. As they are doing stuff, Kalisto climbs to the very tippy top of the dome. And this takes him a while and seems to have no purpose. And he gets up there, and he looks around, and he shifts his weight, and he changes his position, and he looks around. Everyone else is down at the bottom, kind of pretending to fight, mostly just staring at him. And then he hangs by his hands and waves back and forth and just falls down. I think you were right when you said he probably had the idea in his mind he would do a flip from there.
Yeah, he starts swinging back and forth like he's on the high bar.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, this guy's going to do a flyaway. He's going to do either he's going to let go and do a back flip, or he's going to let go and do a front flip. Because he swung a few times and then changed his mind. And then he swung a few more times and he changed his mind. And finally he swung a few times and then just let go and fell on him.
Yep. So this all happened. The Matadors entered. Kalisto did this wacky climbing spot. And then before another team entered, the Matadors were pinned. Sucks to be them.
Yeah.
The Ascension pinned them with the Fall of Man. And they quickly pinned the Lucha Dragons with another Fall of Man. So after all these months, they're finally doing something to make the Ascension look like a viable, competent tag team.
Or so you thought.
And Cole outright said this is the best they've ever looked. And the primetime players then came in and got the pin with a gutbuster.
On the Ascension, they pinned him.
Why did they even bother then?
I don't know what's going on.
Cesaro continued to be amazing. He put Darren Young on the top rope, had a dropkick from the mat. Keep in mind he is 6'5". New Day came in and did a 4-on-3 suplex spot. And everyone's running around doing stuff. And then they hit Kofi. Ken Cesaro hit Kofi with the giant swing dropkick spot. And then Darren Young pinned Cesaro with a schoolboy.
Oh, man.
What? Why? What?
You know what annoyed me about it? The thing is, they like the primetime players right now because Titus got that Dad of the Year gimmick.
Sure, okay.
And they think that's really cool.
All right.
But that's awesome that they know that and they like that. And there was one video package on one Raw. But the people don't give a shit about the primetime players right now.
No.
And so when this match came down to the New Day against the primetime players, the fans all mentally shut off. I don't think they would have done that if it would have been Tyson Kidd Cesaro against the primetime players.
No.
But they shut off for the New Day versus the primetime players, and it was all downhill from there.
It was down to those two teams, and pretty much everything that happened then was Titus would throw somebody into a cage. Cage. And then Kofi just hit Titus with Trouble in Paradise and pinned him.
Yep. Guess I built up my expectations a little too high.
The action here was fun. The booking made no sense. Nothing had any impact, but it wasn't terrible.
They also did a deal there where the New Day, it was ruled that all three of them were going to have to be jammed into a pod. And I guess they'd complained on the pre-show. Maybe it was, I can't remember because I couldn't see it. I couldn't hear it. I could only see it. But Xavier had complained that something was unfair, and they were trying to shut him up. Anyway, the point of this is, I was thinking, is it fair or unfair in an elimination match to have the man advantage? Know what I mean?
Well, it's one more guy to fight for your team, but it's one more guy to get pinned.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did this deal, I think it was may have been Cesaro. Somebody grabbed Xavier and they sent him into a pod and they locked him in. And the announcers were talking about how this made it even. And I was thinking, why would you want to lock him in? Because if you're going to lock one of the three guys in, lock Big E in, for Christ's sake.
That's right.
Leave the two little guys in there to beat. Or leave them all there and try and beat any one of the three of them. But that was weird. And then the very finish of the match was all three men pig-piled on top of Titus and pinned him. And the fans just they weren't ready for that to be the final two guys, and they weren't ready, or the final two teams, and they weren't ready for that to be the finish. And they didn't care, and it was a letdown. It's too bad, because I thought this was going to be awesome.
Yeah. They announced that Rusev was out of the chamber match due to a broken foot, and boy, I'm sure he's not happy his foot broke, but boy, is he better off not being in that match.
I'll say. Oh, that was legit a lucky break.
Yes. Then he sent out a tweet.
A shoot lucky break.
He sent out a tweet saying, stupid American doctors would not let him compete. In Russia, he'd have duct taped it up and fought. Rusev is awesome.
Apparently, the original tweet, he spelled it duck tape, like the quacking.
Yeah.
And they edited it for him.
That's actually a shame.
It is. It would have been much better if he would have called it duct tape.
Yeah.
And it turns out in Russia, they really use ducks to make tape.
I'm sure they do. Dolph Ziggler's warming up backstage. Lana came up and wished him luck, and he talked about Rusev, and she says, it's not about Rusev, it's all about you. That's not important. What's important here is that these people have the most intense negative chemistry. Like, Lana clearly is a beautiful woman. And I imagine there's a lot of women out there who don't think Dolph Ziggler is a beautiful man. But not for 1 second do I believe that either of these beautiful people are actually attracted to each other. There's no indication that they actually like each other in any way. It's amazing.
Well, I don't even know what to say. I think that Rusev in real life is
big and scary.
Yeah. Know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I think that Lana really loves Rusev, or I think CJ really loves whatever the fuck his name is.
Barishnov.
God damn it. I had it the other day. I got to find it. It's so great.
Point being,
I think that CJ Perry really loves Miroslav Barnyashev. Let me say that again. Miroslav Barnyashev. The greatest name I've ever heard. When I have a son, I will fight to name him Miroslav Barnyashev Alvarez, even though there will be no Russian in his genes. But anyway, I think that CJ really loves Miro, and I think that Dolph thinks CJ is ridiculously hot, but he knows if I get too close, Miroslav Barnyashev is going to beat the fuck out of me, and so I'm going to just,
I, Nick Nemeth, fear Miroslav Barnyashev.
Yeah.
Therefore, are we going to make sure that Dolph Ziggler does not anger Rusev?
I mean, I'm sure, this is what, maybe I'm the only one. Let me explain cartoons to everybody, okay? And then this relates to real life. I'm sure that Dolph Ziggler probably could take down Rusev and hold him down with his amateur background, okay? However, I believe that regardless of that, if Miroslav Barnyashev got really fucking angry and smoke was coming out of his ears, even though Dolph could take him down and hold him down, he'd still run for his life. This is just the way humans operate. So yes, I think that he's being careful.
Nikki Bella versus Naomi versus Paige. A completely, utterly random selection of moves. For a while it was fine, and then stuff started to get really scary. They tried a combo powerbomb, top rope belly to back suplex, and I thought someone was going to die there. And then a minute later, Naomi hit Paige with a standing reverse Rana. And this involved Paige jumping backwards through the air and landing on her head.
Yeah.
Bad times.
Hey, how many times have I said it? They have to find something athletic that women can do, and they make them do it, even if they can't do it well. It happens all the time.
And the crowd was pretty quiet for all this wanton destruction. And then finally, Nikki just hit Naomi with a rack attack and pinned her.
I was furious. I was absolutely furious. And you know whose fault it is? All you fuckers that go and bet on these matches. Because I would bet you good money, ironically, that Naomi was scheduled to win this match. Because I'd heard she was. And when the odds came out, Naomi was the favorite, and Paige was the second favorite, and Nikki was the deep underdog. And they probably went and they looked at all the odds, and they went, oh, we got to throw one monkey wrench into the fucking odds. Let's just switch the thing and have Nikki beat Naomi. Why in the fuck did Nikki Bella pin Naomi clean in this match? Give me one good reason. I didn't think he had one.
I don't know.
Nobody does. Why couldn't they pin Paige? Why couldn't Naomi just win the title since she's the best thing they've got in the entire WWE main roster women's division.
No, Nikki Bella, she's on a roll. You can't take the title off her right now. It's the wrong time.
It ain't the wrong time. I couldn't even believe this finish. I was just gobsmacked. And then the announcers, while they're on a hot roll, they're talking about how the Authority has banned all of the seconds from ringside. And Jerry Lawler, a babyface, mind you, says, terrible move by the Authority. And I was like, what? The seconds are there for one reason and one reason only, to interfere in the match. Whenever there is a second at ringside, they always interfere. So how, as a babyface, can you call this a bad move to have these people banned from ringside? And then JBL, who's a heel, agreed with him. Cole was level-headed, saying, no, probably a good idea. They might interfere.
Lawler did explain himself.
Because he wanted to see hot chicks at ringside like Tamina.
That was his answer.
Whose gimmick that they have given her is it the other women call her a man?
Yeah.
This is all terrible. Everything about all of this is terrible. But then we had Kevin Owens versus John Cena.
This is the point where Kevin Owens versus John Cena happened. You should all seek this out and watch this match.
Hey, listen. If you're within sound of my voice, you should buy a full year of the WWE Network just because this match was so good. That's what I would advocate if I were president, for example. That's how good I thought this match was. Buy a whole year of the network just to reward them for how awesome this match was.
It was really, really great. Unfortunately, the show continued. Someone, I'm sure Mookie gone out there has a database with every show and every star rating for every match. I need a line graph to show just how steep the drop-off was from this match to the rest of the show. It plummeted. Just Bo Dallas versus Neville. I'm out of ideas for why Bo Dallas is a job now. If his last name, and I don't mean Dallas, if his last name was not Rotunda, if it was Smith or Jones or Wallace, no way. Not a chance in hell. But it's Rotunda, so he got a foot in the door, and now I guess he's stuck. They can't get him out. Bo's terrible, everyone. But Dallas is a terrible, terrible wrestler. He had a terrible match here with Neville. I don't know how many terrible matches Neville has had, but he had one here. You were talking about the announcers being awful. They were awful here because they were bored to sleep.
There was a lot of boredom on this show.
So, Neville made his comeback. Dallas infuriated me by kicking out of stuff. And Dallas got more offense, and finally Neville won with the red arrow. And I will say again, I see no reason why Bo Dallas should be on the roster tomorrow morning.
Well, all I'll say is this is a classic example of a match that did nobody any favors.
That's for damn sure.
I remember Dave's theory was, well, it's bad that he's facing Bo Dallas, but at least he's not in one of these chamber matches where he has to do a job. And in hindsight, he's kind of right in the sense that at least he wasn't in that Intercontinental title Elimination Chamber match. However, guess who else had nothing to do and thus wasn't on the show? Randy fucking Orton! Yeah. So if you don't have anything to do with Neville, it's better that he's not on the show than he has a match that went as long as this one did with Bo Dallas. Fans were bored, announcers were bored, I was bored. Both guys came out of this worse. This was no good.
Triple H met with Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, said he admired their bond, but Roman had no right to be in Dean's corner tonight, so if Roman went out for the match, Dean would be disqualified. And everyone in the world thought this meant Roman was turning heel, and everyone in the world was wrong. The worst match of the year then happened.
Well, they're wrong for tonight. I have an idea.
Okay.
Well, I'll get to it after the main event.
All right. Yes, the worst match of the year. I'm quite certain this will win worst match of the year in the Observer Awards, the Intercontinental Title Elimination Chamber match from the Elimination Chamber show on May 31st, 2015. The worst match of the year. Then they announced the Cena-Owens rematch, and we knew it was a program anyway, but Owens beat him clean. And 20 minutes later, they say, we're doing a rematch because.
Because it's John Cena. When you're a 15-time champion, you deserve a second chance.
They couldn't even have him cut a promo demanding it?
Nope. Show's in 2 weeks. They got to get some fucking matches out there.
They just said, we're doing a match because. we got Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins in the main event. The highlight here was when Jerry Lawler said, R.E. Dean Ambrose, I like it when he punches and chops.
That's what he said.
So this was like a really good match, but we have seen them have so many really good matches over the past year now that everything they've done I've seen before. So,
You know what's weird about this match? This was like a really good match, but the one thing that I couldn't not notice about it was they did all of their big spots like twice.
a few times.
Dean went for his little spinneroonie outside the ring at least twice.
Mm-hmm.
He went for the loop-de-loo lariat at least 3 times.
Yeah.
Seth went for his springboard knee at least twice.
Yeah.
And I realize in a lot of matches you go for it twice. The first time you get foiled, the second time it works, or vice versa. But man, the third time he went for that loop-de-loo clothesline, I was like, it was Groundhog Day?
There's a difference between doing the same move twice in a match and very clearly running out of stuff to do. And they ran out of stuff to do. Oh, there's also lots and lots of interference, by the way. Interference is a regular part of Seth's offense. So Seth goes up top, Dean goes up top, and Dean jumps down. And I will clarify this point by point because this involves the secret DMs I got. Seth comes off the... I did it again. Dean fucking Ambrose comes off the top rope. Seth Rollins pulls the referee in front of him. And Dean Ambrose violently collides with the ref. And I will say this. If you're going to do a ref bump, have the ref get killed. And this poor ref got clobbered. So the referee's down. They do some stuff. And then Dean hits Dirty Deeds, his finisher. And he makes the cover. But there's no referee. And then another referee comes sprinting down the ramp. And this ref was moving. And he hits the ring. And he counts 1. And he counts 2. And then much to my surprise, he counted 3.
Yeah.
Seth was down for an 8 count here. I checked on the replay. So Dean's music plays. They give him the belt. JBL is talking about how terrible this is. Dean's having a giant party. And then the first ref returns. And the referees have a summit. And they go out to Lillian. And they announce that Seth Rollins has been disqualified for pulling the ref in the way. Therefore, Dean Ambrose is the winner, but the title does not change hands.
Yes.
And Seth Rollins then, I swear to God, Seth's celebration for this announcement was greater than his celebration at Mania when he actually won the damn title.
I wrote that exact same thing.
Yes.
Seth's joy to have not lost was bigger than his joy to have won
Yes.
at WrestleMania.
He was so happy this loophole went his way. At this point, I will read the mystery DMs. Please explain on the show how fucking stupid that finish was. As a sports guy, do they ever penalize the guy who scores or wins because the other guy's cheated on the play? Fucking morons. Only way a post-pinfall DQ works is if you DQ the guy who won for cheating. So basically the ref rewarded Rollins for cheating. Morons. In football, you get to decline the penalty. In UFC, if a guy pokes you in the eye and you knock his ass out, they don't rule it a no contest. He's not entirely wrong. You can, in fact, decline the penalty in football if you score on the play anyway.
This ain't football.
There's also times when the ref blows his whistle and the play is dead, and no matter what happens after that, it doesn't count. So I kind of see his point, but the point is it's a fuck finish either way. So they all beat up Dean, and Roman came out to make the save, and they cleared the ring, and Dean said, I won this match. I'm taking this belt. And he went away, and on another night, this finish might have been okay. This action-wise, this was... I was probably too hard in my notes. I wrote a below-average pay-per-view main event. That's not fair. This is an average or maybe even slightly above-average pay-per-view main event until the finish. Then it is a stupid finish, and the stupid finish to cap off the last hour of this show was just a kick in the teeth.
See, I still am. I can't decide if it was better or worse to have closed the show with this, because, granted, the Kevin Owens versus John Cena match was a non-title match. There was no belt on the line. There certainly was not a world title on the line. But it was champion versus champion, number one. And number two, even though there was no title change, Kevin Owens pinning John Cena in the middle of the ring felt bigger than virtually any title change there's been in a long, long time. It was something real for the people. And so I kind of think, why the fuck didn't you end with this? I know it's a sad ending because the bad guy won, but hey, the bad guy won in the main event as well. Maybe they thought, okay, well, we're going to fuck these people in the world title match. And if we fuck them third on the card, they're not going to give a shit about anything else for the rest of the show. They're going to be really, really mad at us. So if we're going to fuck them, we may as well fuck them at the very end. But saying that, they did, after the fuck finish, do all the stuff with Roman Reigns coming down, and he cleared the ring, and he beat everybody up, and Dean got the belt, and he announced that he was claiming it because he'd won the match, and they left together with the title. Everybody was happy. I mean, they turned it into a happy ending, so why couldn't they have done that earlier in the show and ended with that John Cena match where we got a clean finish? I mean, I honest to God think, if you would have put this fuck finish in the middle of the show, and you would have ended the show with Kevin Owens beating John Cena, I think that the feedback to the show, yeah, you'd have had some sad Cena fans, but I think the feedback to the show would have been significantly more favorable than the way they did it, which was to put the John Cena match in the middle of the show and then fuck everybody at the end. I don't know, but that's what I think.
So this match had, well, will certainly be a match of the year contender, and yet I am not sure it was a thumbs up show. In fact, I'm strongly leaning against. The more I think about it.
No, I'm going to give it a thumbs up because I want to strongly encourage them to continue doing the right thing with guys that are coming up.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they did with Kevin Owens. I mean, who really thought that they were going to have him pin John Cena clean? Anybody? Even the odds makers had John Cena as the favorite.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those people that were crying because we gave away the odds, the guy that tried to claim that giving away the odds was giving away spoilers, well, the odds makers fucking took a bath today because they were wrong on half the shit on this whole show. You were better off listening to my supposed spoilers if you really wanted to be surprised by this show. They were wrong about all sorts of things on this program. So anyway, that was, I encourage them to continue taking care of these young guys coming up. And they've already announced, by the way, a bunch of guys for Money in the Bank, which kind of surprises me because I thought they would make matches on Raw, but apparently not. And think about this, by the way. Money in the Bank for a shot at the World Heavyweight title has Dolph, who just lost on this show, Neville, whose claim to fame on the show was he beat Bo Dallas, Roman Reigns, who should be in, Randy Orton, who hasn't been on TV in a month, but I guess should be in as well, Kofi fucking Kingston, and Sheamus, who lost in this match as well. It's your lineup for Money in the Bank so far. They better throw like Finn Balor in there and somebody else, or I'm going to be really upset. Because it's not much of a lineup thus far. But, and I will admit that I saw somebody say this on Twitter, so this is not entirely my idea. But, Money in the Bank, Roman Reigns, as promised, wins the Money in the Bank briefcase. They do Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose in a rematch again. And this time, sure as shit, clean in the middle, Dean Ambrose really does beat him, and he actually wins the WWE World Heavyweight title. At which point his best fucking friend cashes in and steals the title from him. Roman Reigns, new champion and new top heel. Seth Rollins out to pasture by the Authority. He can turn babyface. You do a run with him. Although that does fuck up all the plans for Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. So maybe they won't go that direction. Maybe that'll be a slow build. But that would certainly make a lot of sense and a lot of things would fit into place. Because this happy, smiling, selfie picture-taking Roman Reigns, I don't buy it for a second. I don't trust the guy. Or maybe just finally figured out how to play babyface. I don't know. Anyway, let's play one song, then we'll wrap it up here. Somebody sent in an apology to you, Vinny.
Oh, really?
Well, because a couple days ago on the show, we were reading Granny's book titles or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Darcy said something very negative. I can't remember what he said about you. I think it says in the song. Something about Vinny sucks or something.
It's impossible. Everyone likes me.
But here we go. Here's a song.
Eric Darcy goes with I Am Dumb, the life that was Vinny V.
I am dumb?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't like it.
Apparently he thinks I'm dumb.
Huh. There must be more to it we're not getting.
There might be.
That's unlike Eric to just call you dumb.
Maybe I'm just dumb.
I can keep going.
Well, remember, everyone, I'm dumb.
That's his apology?
I'm not sure that's really an apology. Pointing out how dumb I in fact am.
I don't think Eric knows what the word apology means.
I'm not a big fan of this Eric fella.
Oh, he's a nice guy.
He just pointing out that sometimes I make mistakes.
I think he was just pointing out.
That I'm dumb.
Well, I think you said you were dumb a couple of times, and so he turned it into a book title, and he was the only one that got the joke.
He was the only one who remembered this.
But now I get the joke.
Yeah.
And I guess the title's apropos.
So I guess I owe him an apology.
Yeah. Sorry, Eric.
Eric, I apologize for being so dumb.
Eric, he apologized for being so mad that you called him dumb. You were right, is what he's saying. All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back with Dave a little bit later on tonight. Tomorrow, I'm not sure there's going to be a Filthy Tom show. I have an appointment during our normal time, and he's on the East Coast, so it looks like the time isn't going to match up, but we will have him on either tomorrow or sometime shortly thereafter this week. I just want to throw that out there. But all other shows on is scheduled, so that's it. Stick around. We'll talk to you again after a while.
Adios.